So I wanted to start a series of videos about some of the enhancements and improvements that I've been suggesting in my property plans. So this is going to be part one of a three-part series on this property that I just recently did. It's 66 acres, and I wanted to focus on the northwest corner of the property. So if you notice, and the top of the screen is north just for orientation, but if you notice on this property, there's a fairly steep ridge that runs sort of from northwest to southeast, coming towards the center of the property. And there's also a power line that runs along the length of the western border. And so it essentially creates this natural pinch point up here at the very top. And this travel corridor, they're just going to naturally move between this edge and this ridge in a kind of north to south or northwest to southeast direction. So this movement already exists, this kind of linear movement. And what essentially we're trying to do is just improve upon that natural movement. And so currently, a lot of the movements at night, there's not a lot to keep the deer in the woods during the day because it's essentially mid-story and mature canopy timber. So not a lot of understory, not a lot of cover, and not a lot of daylight movement. So what we want to do is just improve that by increasing the cover, increasing the bedding, and increasing the food in this area, and then adding some deer trails in just to kind of make the movement a little more predictable. So if you start up here at the northwest corner, um, it's a little thicker there already, but we're going to continue to improve that. So he's going to fell some of the larger trees and hinge cut some of the smaller trees, maybe even girdle a few trees. And we just need to increase the sunlight in here, get some side cover, and then get some woody browse and a higher stem count so that the deer feel comfortable, especially the bucks feel comfortable bedding up here along this ridge. So these two up here a little further from the food will end up being your buck bedding, and then as you come a little south, these three will most likely be doe bedding. This one might end up being either or. So this first plot, this little L-shaped plot, is essentially going to be a staging plot, and he's got access to a bulldozer. So what he's going to do is there's an old roadbed that runs right through here. He's going to expand on both sides of that roadbed, push the trees out of the way with the bulldozer, expand and create this section of the plot, and then come down here and push trees out of the way and create the L-shaped section of the plot. So this will be a nice little staging area as they're moving, sort of north to south. Hit the staging before they come down to the larger destination plot, which is it already exists. So he's been planting up in this area right here, and he started planting some orchard trees down, some mass trees to create an orchard down here in the southern part, the southwestern part. And we're also going to be planting some more mass trees up here in the northeastern part because that southerly sun orientation, you'll get a lot more sun directly up here to help those trees grow faster and produce faster. So another thing, these green boxes are going to be mock scrapes, and if you notice, there are some in front of stands to just attract the deer and provide shot opportunities, kind of just hold them in position. And then there are some just to create behavior, buck behavior or promote buck behavior at these intersections of the deer trails. So one here, one up here, one here. And these deer trails are basically connecting, the bedding as well as you've got some sneak type trails, buck sneak trails going around the bedding and around the food so they can scent check these enhancements with mainly from an easterly wind direction because that's how he's going to be hunting, but also from a westerly direction they can move through this way and check up here along the ridgetop. So the nice thing about the way he's going to hunt this area, he's got this western access. He's going to create a trail right along the power line here with the bulldozer, and he's going to push the trees towards the interior of the property. And he's going to, hinge cut some additional trees, basically pile up everything and create a screen here towards the inside that he can walk behind. But coming in from the west, he essentially can hunt any easterly wind direction. So anything coming from the southeast, the east, the northeast, will be blowing back out towards the power line and away from the movement. And another thing I wanted to point out, if you look down here a little further to the south, there's a draw right in here, just a little bottom that runs across the power line and off the property. In the evening, his thermals are going to naturally drift down towards this bottom. And so, an evening hunt with an easterly wind direction, all of his scent is going to kind of pull down this way and away from the movement. He could still hunt a morning. He could hunt these stands in the morning. He's just going to need a little bit steadier wind, maybe 5 miles an hour or more, because as those thermals start to rise, they'll sort of want to drift up the elevation a little bit, and then his wind can kind of push him back out towards the power line. But a calm day, they could essentially drift up towards the bedding. So we just want to avoid that. This northmost stand is going to be the most intrusive because it's closest to the buck bedding. So you definitely want to only hunt those in ideal conditions. This one, he could get away with a little bit more because he's just a quick pop in from the old roadbed, and he's right there at the stand. So just to sum up, the goal that we're trying to achieve here is to increase daylight activity by improving upon the existing linear movement along the ridge. So stay tuned for parts 2 and 3.